and welcome back to Baker's DIY Lifestyle. And today I am extremely excited because we are getting super close to getting back into the lawn season this year, and we're going to go ahead and start doing some stuff to get the yard ready, get it prepared for the spring, and hopefully when we get to springtime we will see this Kentucky bluegrass really start to thrive and fill in, and we'll start working on the tall fescue in the front yard as well to make sure the entire yard looks good by the end of this year. But a couple of things I wanted to talk about today was A, what do you do when you have weeds in your yard? If you can see behind me, after a renovation, why are they there? Why'd they show back up? What am I going to do to combat that? And then also, we are going to get the first soil test that I've ever got at this house so that I can go ahead and prepare my plan for the entire year, get it laid out on paper, and I'll know exactly what I'm going to be doing to make sure the grass is going to grow the best it can possibly grow. So again, the first couple things I'm going to talk about is why we're seeing all of these weeds in the yard. So typically whenever you do a full yard renovation, you kill everything off, which if you watched my previous videos, you saw that we glyphosated this thing twice. I made sure I killed every single thing that was in the yard. We tilled it up, we planted new seed. We didn't cover it up, but all of this stuff started growing when the grass itself started growing too. So if you were in a situation like I was, where you till up your yard, you plant some grass, maybe you're a little bit later into the season, you could have some results like this. This particular weed that you're looking at, this is henbit, and I'm gonna get closer to it. This is that weed that kind of pops up like a flower, and if it'll focus right there, it'll start getting the little purple blooms on the top of all these leaves. I'm not sure how far south this stuff goes, but it is a winter annual, which means it'll come up every winter. It'll go through the winter into the spring and then die off in the summer and come back again next year. So the main reason you're seeing that in my yard, even though I sprayed it, is because this stuff had already died for the summer. Anytime you spray glyphosate or any type of herbicide on your yard, you have to make sure you have leaf coverage, otherwise that stuff isn't going to die. And that's exactly what happened with the henbit. Because it was dead in the summer and we sprayed the yard, I definitely killed all the Bermuda. I killed any kind of grass that was previously here, but I did not kill that stuff because it wasn't alive. And ultimately, since I planted the grass so late last year and it was bare dirt, the weeds have every opportunity to sprout back up, take over that ground area, and really grow vigorously, which is exactly what they did. So the other weed that I'm having trouble with is the ground ivy, or creeping Charlie, depending on what you want to call it. So anytime you have shade and moisture, you are bound to have creeping Charlie. And it is one of the toughest weeds to get out because typically where there's shade, there's big trees, like this oak tree that you can see behind me. We got an old something right here that's halfway dead that I'm going to end up cutting down. But all of this shade is basically giving the perfect breeding ground for the creeping Charlie. And this back section of the yard is going to be really tough to get rid of it. So ultimately, all of the water in the yard also runs down to this section. It goes back in between me and the neighbor here. But you can see even on this tree stump, how the creeping Charlie has just taken it over. So the bad thing about creeping Charlie is it spreads, and it spreads really, really fast. So that's why it's so hard to get rid of, because once you see it, you have to kill it all the way back to the base of the plant. Otherwise, it's just going to spread back out and take over, just as bad as Bermuda. And if your goal is to have a clean, weed-free yard, creeping Charlie is definitely not your friend. So this is what creeping Charlie looks like up close. It's almost like clover, but not really. You can't really see it, but if you get a hold of a good strand of it, you can see how viney it is and how it just kind of crawls across the ground. So creeping Charlie is going to find any of the dirt that is available, kind of like right here, where it's starting to spread, and eventually it's going to take over this entire area if I don't control it. So when we're talking about the difference between those two weeds and how I'm going to try to control those in my yard, there's going to have to be two different plans of attack because they are two very different weeds. Creeping Charlie kind of survives all year long. It does slow down in the winter, but it doesn't really ever go dormant. But during the spring and summertime, if it is wet and, like I say, in the shade where the sun is not drying it out, that stuff is just going to take off. The big thing for creeping Charlie is getting down a post-emergent herbicide. So I haven't sprayed the yard yet just because the grass is so new and so small still that I don't want to hurt it. So I haven't put that into action just yet. As far as the henbit goes, I'm kind of just going to let it go, because ultimately if you plant your yard at the right time and if you have a solid thick stand of grass, that stuff is not going to have enough area to come up and really reach the sun. Of course, in late spring going into summer, that stuff is going to start checking out and it will die in the very heat of the summer. So as long as I get the yard nice and thick in the spring and get it ready for summer, going into fall, that's not going to be something I'm going to have to worry about as much next year. But the good thing about that stuff is if there is any still there towards the summer, when I start going heavy on my post-emergent herbicide and really start hammering the yard with a bunch of products to clean it up, the ground ivy is going to kind of back up. It's going to disappear. The henbit's going to get killed. And hopefully by the end of this year, the yard's going to be thick. And going into wintertime, I'm not going to have to worry about these weeds popping back up. And the grass itself will kind of keep the weeds at bay. So I've used a few different soil sample kits over the years. I started out with Soil Savvy. And then last year I used some Yard Mastery kits. This year, since I got my grass seed from GCI Turf, I went ahead and got the My Soil kit that they sell on their website. And ultimately, I think all of these kits are very helpful. They are very good for the homeowner because they're easy to do, they're quick to send in. And I'm gonna link a video that I did in the past right up here that will go in depth on how to use one of these soil test kits. But today I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing opened up, check it out, see what I need to do to get it sent off and get it in the mailbox before the mail lady gets here. But this kit looks just like the other two kits do. I'm not sure if they go to the same place or if it's the same company, but when you get one of these kits, you're gonna open it up and you will get a bag and a number right here so that you can send it off and the code in order for you to find your soil test kit after you send it off. And they all come with something like this. They have a little scooper for your dirt, the little vial that you put the dirt in, and you just put it in the mailbox. So all these kits are the same. And again, if you need more information on how to use this kit, definitely check out that video that I filmed previously because it goes super in depth with how to use this. But that is pretty much all I have for today. I just wanted to go ahead and give you guys an overview of how the yard is looking since we did the renovation, what you can do if you have problems like this in your yard, and how you can tackle the weeds. Obviously get my soil test sent off so that I can create a plan for the rest of the year. But as of right now, coming into the springtime, I'm super hopeful for the yard. I'm excited to get the Kentucky bluegrass growing and really see what it looks like compared to fescue. And here in the next couple weeks, I'm going to be throwing down my pre-emergent because we are starting to get warm here in North Carolina already. Of course, for this year, I want to keep any of the weeds that aren't here out of the yard so that I can push the grass as hard as I can to get this first year going. But with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. Again, if you have any questions or comments about the Henbit or the Creeping Charlie, be sure to leave a comment as I will check those and answer those for you as well. And be sure to subscribe if you're not already and hit that like button because it helps the channel spread. And I hope to see you guys throughout this entire yard season. With that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.